The kid with this grumpy little face is our main character, Zekel Dragon. Don't underestimate him just because he's a newborn baby right now. In his previous life, he was Gila's Dragon, the clan head of the strongest family on the continent. As for why he's showing up in this tiny newborn body, it all goes back more than 1,000 years. He had reached the absolute peak of martial arts, but then he realized a human lifetime would never be enough to truly surpass that limit. He clung to an ancient legend. Deep inside a sacred holy land guarded by a divine dragon, there was supposedly a golden metallic fruit hidden away. That fruit was said to hold the power of immortality, the fruit of eternal life. With that thought burning in his mind, Gila's fought and defeated the dragon god. Finally laying eyes on that miraculous fruit, he dragged his wounded body forward to the tree and quickly plucked the fruit. With this, I can still pursue the absolute peak of martial arts, Zeke said happily before chomping down on it without a second's hesitation. This was Gila's Dragon, the man known as the strongest in the world. Time flew by several decades later. Inside some room, sorrowful cries kept echoing. The main issue is time. He's already so old. At least let him rest in peace. Sitting by the bed was the eldest son of the clan, William. He kept calling out to his father. Seeing that pained expression made Zeke in his frail old body speak up. Stop making that pathetic face. My time has simply run out. Hearing that, William joked through his tears. This mansion feels so cold without mother or you around. Zeke shook his head lightly. Don't be so weak. In his heart, he added, in the end, those legends couldn't be trusted. But I'm still lucky I had a good wife and obedient children. He reached out to stroke his grandson's face and continued, my beloved children, I Gilfis have lived long enough. I have no regrets left. On the surface, that's what he said. But inside, Zeke was fuming. Don't make me laugh. Of course, I have regrets. If I could just have more time. If only I had more time. I still haven't reached the absolute peak of martial arts. Gila's trembling old hands reached upward. His son couldn't hold back his tears seeing the sight. And so, Gila's Dragon's life came to an end. At least that's how it seemed. After he knows how long, Gilfis suddenly woke up. Confusion hit him immediately. Did I fall asleep? These wallpaper patterns aren't these from the annex building. My body feels strangely light. And what are these tiny hands? Gila stared in shock at his minuscule infant hands. These are newborn's hands. I've been reborn as a baby. The realization made even the world's strongest man break out in a cold sweat. After a few seconds, he calmed down a bit and tried to steady himself. Few calm down to drag someone like me who reached level 10 into this bizarre situation without me noticing anything. This is clearly not normal. Who could have done this? And how? As he thought about it, a sudden flash of insight hit him. Could it be that fruit? I get it. The effect of that fruit wasn't immortality. It was reincarnation. I never saw that coming. But this is actually great luck. Now I can finally witness the absolute peak of martial arts. Thinking that our protagonist couldn't stop grinning like an idiot, he glanced around the room. There were countless cribs filled with other sleeping infants. With this setup, Gila's quickly pieced together his situation. Let's see. There are other newborns sleeping here, too. I'm in the annex, so I've reincarnated back into the Dragon clan. But why are so many newborns gathered in one place? Just as that thought crossed his mind, a group of maids entered from outside, carrying a large container of red liquid and several empty milk bottles. While they poured the red solution into the bottles, Zeke quickly analyzed. A maid from the Eldragon clan looks like it's feeding time. Makes sense since this room is full of newborns. Unaware of his inner thoughts, one maid said, "Get ready." "Yes, ma'am," another replied, right after they somehow produced a goblin out of nowhere and shoved a milk bottle filled with the red liquid straight into its mouths. Their actions left the protagonist baffled. Why is there a goblin here? What are they planning to do? As if answering his question, the goblin's chest suddenly glowed red-hot like molten steel. Then its chest exploded outward, splattering fresh blood all over Zeke. He just stared dumbfounded. "Oh, what just happened over there?" The maid continued. "If we dilute it this much, it should be safe. Hurry and feed them." "Yes, ma'am," the others replied, and quickly moved to give the newborns the red liquid. Naturally, Gila's couldn't escape the fate either. And since he just witnessed what happened to the goblin, Gila's was panicking hard. What? They're making us drink what? This isn't milk. What is this liquid? It contains an enormous source of power. Feeding something this dangerous to newborns is insane. Even as he thought that, the moment the nipple was brought to his mouth, Zeke's body instinctively opened up and started suckling greedily. That made Gila's furious inside. Damn it, I forgot I'm a newborn right now. Next, as the red liquid went down, Gila's realized what it was. This is ancient dragon blood. What are these idiots thinking making us drink this? So, That's what they meant by diluting it for this very purpose. This is bad. I have to spit it out. I've already swallowed some, but such a small amount probably won't kill me. The other kids are instinctively spitting it out, too. I need to do the same before I explode. But is this really the right thing to do? Zeke wondered inwardly. But right after, he realized this is a jackpot. Here's the opportunity. If I absorb all this energy, I can surpass even my previous self and finally reach the absolute peak of martial arts. I don't know why this is happening, but I'm seizing this chance. Don't underestimate me. Don't underestimate Heela's Uragan. Zeke roared inwardly while gritting his teeth through the pain brought by the ancient dragon blood. His brows furrowed tightly as he thought, don't underestimate Heela's Uragan. The maid noticed him gripping the bottle tightly and exclaimed in surprise, this baby. Zeke frowned, cheeks puffed out, sucking hard as he thought, I'll absorb every bit of the ancient dragon's power, and then I'll finally reach the absolute peak of martial arts that I couldn't achieve in my previous life. In his mind, an ancient dragon spread its wings and roared endlessly. Its eyes glowed golden as it stared at the silhouette of another dragon. Zeke saw the ancient dragon clamp its jaws around the other dragon's neck in confusion. What? This power is being absorbed so easily. It's shocking. No, this is perfect. Outside, he lay in the soft crib, frowning as he looked around thoughtfully. Somehow, I managed it. Zeke lay inside, sensing energy from the nearby cribs and pondering. The other kids seemed to have survived, too. Can't underestimate a newborn survival instinct. Damn it. Sure enough, an infant body. After a while, he sucked on his finger and drifted off to sleep. Suddenly, so sleepy. Time passed quickly. 7 years later, deep in the forest, a counting voice rang out. 998, 999. Zeke braced one hand on the ground, a boulder strapped to his back as he did push-ups. Then, with both legs, he kicked the boulder high into the sky. Next, Zeke swiftly leaped aside to dodge as the boulder came crashing straight down from above. The former Uragan clan head Heelas, now Ezekiel Dragon, lowered his head to look at his own hands in admiration. Still such an amazing physique, all thanks to the ancient dragon blood. In his mind, he recalled the current world. Every living being possesses some kind of power. Zeke thought back to that bottle of blood he drank long ago. The ancient dragon blood fed to him and the other newborns, containing an endless source of power. He remembered that massive energy and pondered. The children who consumed it to varying degrees gained physiques far beyond ordinary people. Zeke sensed that flowing energy and muse combined with the divine dragon power I defeated in my previous life, now residing within me. Zeke, the only child who fully absorbed the entire ancient dragon's power, had undergone changes that even surprised himself. He closed his eyes and sighed inwardly, but I've only reached 1 star. Zeke lowered his head to look at his hands and muttered, only reaching 1 star is terrible. By now, I should have at least hit 4 stars. Stars are the source of power one gains when pushed to certain limits. He felt the energy radiating from inside his body. The body is like a universe with twinkling stars within. The more stars, the greater the power, but the more stars you have, the harder it becomes to create new ones. Zeke clenched his fist tightly and reflected. And in my previous life, Heela's LD Dragon reached 10 stars, an unprecedented record. He was the only one in the world to achieve that power. He brushed his hair back and murmured, but time really flies. It's already been 7 years since I reincarnated as the illegitimate child of the current Uragan clan head. Zeke thought of her and him. My mother passed away, and my father has never once appeared. I question his qualities as a father, but more than that. He scratched his face, suddenly making a questioning sound. 1,000 years later, huh? Zeke recalled the scene of the maids feeding ancient dragon blood to the newborns and thought, reincarnation alone was surprising enough, but waking up 1,000 years later before I could even grasp the flow of time I'd been reborn into. This world has become a place where only the survival of the fittest is tested to the extreme. The clearest example is exactly this. He thought of that clan chair, forcing newborns to drink ancient dragon blood. It's a ritual called the Dragon's Trial. Zeke thought of the survivors amused. Only those who survive this trial can receive education as true Uragan warriors. That's how it should be. He turned his head and saw a maid stepping out to look for him. Zeke stared at her and shouted, I'm afraid I can't answer that question. He thought back. Over the past 7 years, no instructor had ever come to him. Zeke, face full of excitement, roared at the maid. Isn't that weird? Those who pass the trial are supposed to get combat training, right? But here it's only maids. She looked puzzled and asked back, is there a problem with that? He stammered in surprise. No problem. But Zeke pointed his thumb at himself and shouted loudly. Right now, physical training is more important to me than learning combat anyway. I can handle that on my own. He put one hand on his hip and looked at the maid inquiringly. But at least I want to know a little about the other kids or the main clan. Don't you think so? She replied coldly. I'm afraid I can't answer that. Zeke frowned and asked again. I'm just talking about clan matters. You get that, right? She closed her eyes and responded. I'm afraid I can't answer. Hearing that, his face immediately darkened as he shouted. Is that all you can say? The maid frowned, too, and replied coldly. I'm afraid I can't answer that. Zeke put both hands on his hips and yelled. Isn't treating me like this a bit too harsh? She bowed respectfully and answered. We are only ordered to take care of your daily needs. He stared at her thoughtfully. This maid is at 3-star level. Just basic combat training would be enough with one servant like her. Right after, under her puzzled gaze, Zeke turned and walked away, saying, Fine, whatever. I'm heading into the forest. Living together for 7 years with only minimal interaction like this is way too abnormal. At that moment, he turned his head back and asked suspiciously, finally ignoring me completely, Huh? After that, Zeke walked quickly alone into the dense, deserted forest. Next, he swiftly yanked a small tree out by the roots. Zeke immediately stuffed the whole thing, tree and grass, into his mouth and chewed vigorously. Right away, he stuck out his tongue and groaned. Poisonous grass still tastes awful, disgusting, but this counts as training too. He glanced around while chewing nonstop and muttered, Patience, patience. Zeke looked toward the bushes behind him and whispered, But lately, someone's eyes keep following me. I really wish I could do something about it. He exhaled and shouted forward. Well, I didn't expect them to show themselves over something this trivial. Seriously, if you have something to say, come out and say it directly. Right after, Zeke pursed his lips, quickly approached that spot, and pushed aside the bushes to check. Inside the bushes, faint purple lights flickered in the air. He crouched behind thick foliage and peered over, whispering, Something's over there. Zeke saw a wild boar entirely shrouded in black mist and thought, That's a berserk wild boar. He frowned, staring hard and wondering. Black mist? Something that didn't exist 1,000 years ago? What the hell is that thing? Suddenly, the boar turned its head and stared straight at Zeke. Its whole body emitted black mist as it fixed its gaze on him. Next, it charged straight toward him at high speed. Zeke's face lit up with excitement as he grinned toward the forest. Right after he leaned aside to dodge it, Zeke's eyes gleamed as he raised his fist, gathering golden light, and punched forward. He struck hard with full force, sending the berserk boar flying backward a great distance. Zeke lowered his head to look at the glowing light on his hand and exclaimed, Just a light touch against something at the same 1-star level produced this much power. He immediately hoisted the boar's corpse onto his shoulder and left, thinking the quality of stars really mattered a lot. I'm starting to get tired of being abandoned like this. Should I set out to explore? Zeke left the forest behind and walked quickly away. If I want to go somewhere, the sea is the first place. Behind a tree, a man gripped his staff tightly and thought to himself, What's going on here? Even without proper training, he used 1-star power and defeated a berserk wild boar in a single blow. More importantly, he detected my hidden presence. That kid is not normal. He thought about Zeke. Mother died early. Father doesn't care. How could a child like Zeke receive proper education? Still, because the clan blood flows in him, he can't escape the clan and is always under surveillance. The man sat cross-legged on the ground and muttered, Even if he's an illegitimate child, he still carries the clan blood. Is that how it is? Things are going to get interesting from here. Right after, his figure vanished instantly, leaving no trace behind. On the other side, at the small house where Zeke had grown up since childhood, he tightened the strap of his backpack on his shoulder and asked suspiciously, Who are they? 3 at 4-star, 1 at 5-year, all-season warriors. What do people like that want here? Zeke stood outside the door, pressing his ear to the wood and listening to the discussion inside. The air out here in the countryside is really fresh, Captain. No gaps nearby, so probably not much chaos. They don't seem to have bad intentions. At least it doesn't look like an assassination attempt. He pushed the door open forcefully and asked, What are you people doing in a place like this? Zeke looked at the emblem on their clothes and thought puzzledly, The Ragan clan crest? What's going on? Right after, the man quickly stepped forward. He removed his hat, placed a hand over his chest, bowed respectfully, and said, This must be our first meeting. We've come to escort Zeke. The young Master Zeke must participate in an examination. Zeke was startled and asked suspiciously, An examination? Right after he widened his eyes and mouth in shock, letting out aloud who that small wooden house. Zeke's incredulous voice echoed everywhere. Even though I've never been taught anything properly. Zeke crossed his arms, stunned as he looked up in amazement. I never expected to be going back to the main manor. After that, I was brought back to the main clan by messengers sent from the main house. The maid saw that and quickly reminded Zeke, you need to change clothes. You can't enter the manor looking like this. At that time, he was stunned. Can't enter, but isn't it to live in the main house? Speaking of which, that thing called the Dragon's Lair. Seems like over the past 1,000 years, the Eldragon clan has established a specialized educational. Zeke recalled what he knew before. All those born into the Dragon clan aim to join the Dragon's Lair and are educated at home until age 7. Today is the entrance exam. He smiled confidently to himself. Well, I'm the kid who hasn't been properly taught anything. Zeke's legs stood straight as he looked around, observing. Right after, he suddenly squatted down, holding his head in frustration. Even so, participating in the exam is mandatory. So, I've been dragged from the border back here. Zeke couldn't help remembering himself back then. Why did this happen right when I was about to leave? After all that preparation, everything gone. While he was squatting on the ground, a voice suddenly came from behind. A boy with gentle blue hair bowed slightly and asked, Ringi's from Ortsil village. Are you okay? Something wrong? Zeke looked up confusedly. Who are you? The boy explained awkwardly. I'm Ringi's. You didn't look well, so... Zeke's expression stayed indifferent as he stared at Ringi's. The boy was radiating some kind of energy. Zeke assessed inwardly. This kid looks timid, but he's pretty sharp. So Zeke suddenly stood up and said, sorry about that. He gave a friendly smile and introduced himself. You're Ringi's, right? I am Zeke. Then Zeke complained loudly. I have no idea what they plan to make us do. Ranges awkwardly hugged his own arm and said, the exam content hasn't changed for years. But Zeke replied indifferently, no. I don't even know what the test consists of. I have zero foundation. Hearing that, Ringi's paused in shock. What? Ringi's thought inwardly. Not knowing anything about the test is way too reckless. Is he okay? So he started explaining to Zeke, today's test includes. But suddenly, a shout came from afar. Hey, that weakling, Ranges. Ranges heard it and turned around in fear. At that moment, another guy walked over with a thuggish look. This one was written from Ortsil village. He spoke contemptuously. A weakling like you? Why are you even here? Lost? Go home before you get hurt. Ranges answered awkwardly. Of course, it's for the Dragon's Lair entrance exam. Hearing that, Rhett and sneered you. Retton clutched his stomach, laughing mockingly in his face. No way. No way you getting in. Your dad's a pseudo-dragon, right? What can the son of a pseudo-dragon even do? At that point, Rengi's hand clenched in anger, trembling. Zeke noticed it too. Speaking of the Dragon clan's hierarchy, there's a clear order established by the absolute sovereign, the prime dragon. Next comes the juvenile dragons, the mature dragon captains, the high elder dragons, and at the very bottom are the pseudo-dragons, those who can't join the dragon's lair or can't graduate, called the immature ones. He lowered his head in anger inwardly. But I want to prove that we're not fakes. Right then, a voice rang out that startled him. Why? How can you be so sure without even trying? Zeke quickly stepped forward in front of the three. Redden saw that and snarled contemptuously. Huh? Who the hell are you? What got a problem? Zeke answered mildly. No, just asking why can't Ringi's. The guy pointed straight at Ringi's and said, obviously, because he's weak. Zeke's face twitched slightly at those words. Weak? Zeke stared at Ringi's and assessed. He's actually way stronger than you guys. Hearing that, the guy was stunned, eyes wide. They got angry and immediately cursed. What did you say? You're saying we're weaker than that failure. Right then, footsteps approached suddenly. Two men appeared and shouted, attention. This one was the dragon instructor. He said sternly, the dragon's lair entrance exam will begin now. Candidates must register in order. Then proceed quickly with your number tags. Retton stopped arguing with Zeke, passed by with a warning. I remember your face, you bastard. Zeke watched him go and sighed helplessly. Did he really need to get that mad? Kids these days are so quick to anger. Behind him, Ringi spoke awkwardly. We're the same age, right? So he bowed his head slightly and continued. Who wouldn't get mad hearing someone say, I'm stronger than them? Zeke looked at Ringi's and replied softly, I see. Then he crossed his arms and stated the obvious. But this entrance exam is mandatory, right? So saying things like impossible or whatever is pointless. Ringi's asked in confusion. You can really withdraw? You really don't know anything, huh? Zeke answered, you can quit. I had no idea. Ringi's gave an awkward laugh and said, you should withdraw too. At least that way you won't get hurt. Zeke didn't explain further, just smiled and rubbed his chin. Someone at my level can't withdraw, even if they tried. Ranges couldn't help admiring you're really confident, even without knowing what the test is. Zeke laughed cheerfully after hearing that. Whatever, hurry up. We need to move, or the test will start. Ringi scratched his head. Ah, yeah, right. After that, They hurried to where the instructor was. He said, "The test is very simple. If you can scratch this rock, you pass. No weapons allowed except what we've prepared, but bare hands are fine. Just make a scratch appear on the stone." The instructor held up 3 fingers with a smile and added, "However, you only get 3 attempts." Hearing that, Zeke couldn't help exclaiming, "So simple." Ranges was startled. "What?" On his side, Zeke thought inwardly while recalling, "Just need to scratch the rock, right? After going through that insane dragon's trial ritual, I thought some terrifying test was waiting, but this is totally anticlimactic." Right after the instructor over there shouted coldly, "Begin." Next, one boy rushed forward and struck the rock with all his strength. Ranges on the other side still couldn't hold back and clutched his head in fear. Next came another heavy impact sound, but suddenly something shot out and the boy's hand started bleeding. Zeke's group on this side watched in shocked horror. The kid let out a cry and collapsed flat on the ground. The instructor walked over, noted something down, then asked, "First attempt failed. 2 tries left. Do you want to go again?" Seeing no movement from him, someone nearby smirked. "Guess he's giving up. Clean him up." Then, right in front of everyone, they dragged the boy away. Next up, Ringi's beside him was still clutching his head in terror. Zeke felt anger rising as he muttered, "So this is the test." He couldn't help murmuring while staring at the thing. "What the hell is that rock anyway?" Ringi's quickly explained to Zeke, "It's called the rebirth stone. It instantly regenerates even the tiniest scratch. Plus, when attacked with pure physical power like that, it reflects the blowback with hundreds of times more force." After hearing that, Zeke pondered, "Isn't that material way too unreasonable?" Ranges added, "But if you circulate your power properly throughout your body and strike, it can be scratched." Zeke understood and felt a bit confused as he calculated. "Got it. From what I've heard, the martial skills you learn are way less important than mastering power control." His eyes glanced around again. At this point, everyone present was tense, staring downward. Seems like very few could pass the test, even those guys from earlier. Over there, another miserable scream rang out. The kid was crying in fear. Number 51 failed next. Then another teenager failed too. Number 202 failed next. Tags kept dropping. The instructor emotionlessly continued writing on his sheet. Then he spoke again next. Number Zeke looked at his tag and said, "My turn." Seeing that, Ringi's worriedly told Zeke, "Hey, don't you still have a chance to quit?" Zeke just waved at him and stepped down. "Don't worry." Ringi's watched from above, tense and speechless. Over there, the instructor pointed him in the right direction, still holding his pen, ready to note. Right at that moment, the instructor's eyes showed astonishment. From behind Zeke, a powerful surge of energy radiated. He gave a slight smile. "Weapons are on the rack." Seeing Zeke step into the arena barehanded, the dragon instructor asked suspiciously, "No weapon?" Zeke confirmed, "Yes, no need. This fist is enough." On the stands, the candidates buzzed. That guy's planning to use bare hands. Even if he's good at power control, he can't scratch that rock barehanded. His fist will get smashed. Ringi's paused when he heard someone say, No, forget the fist. He might lose the whole arm." He inwardly blamed himself, as expected. "I should have stopped him more forcefully." The instructor didn't force it. "I understand. Then begin." As he touched the rock, Zeke inwardly assessed, "This is really the first time I've seen a mineral like this. It must be something formed over 1,000 years. There are way too many things I still don't know." Oh well. He studied himself, no problem, and immediately swung his fist. Ringi's panicked and stood up, thinking, "This is bad. I have to stop him." So he shouted loudly, "Zay." Meanwhile, Zeke was extremely excited. "With this, I can unleash my full power right now." Ringi's watched helplessly as Zeke showed no sign of stopping. The technique Zeke used at this moment was the Dragon Ruin martial art first form explosive strike. In the blink of an eye, the rock exploded, debris flying everywhere. The force was so great that even Ringi's on the distant stands felt terrified. The dragon instructor stood frozen. The outcome far exceeded imagination. Zeke smirked arrogantly as expected. "This technique is still a bit too much for my current body. I still need a lot more training." The stands fell deathly silent. No one had recovered from what just happened. After a moment, Redden angrily shouted, "He shattered the rock." Meanwhile, Laika admired interesting. Ranges was still dazed, unable to believe what he'd seen. Then he cried out in shock, "What?" Beside him, the instructor inwardly assessed, "Impossible." He punched away half the rebirth stone. That can only happen at 4-star level or higher, yet a kid did it. The dragon instructor doubted inwardly. Even if he's illegitimate, does he really carry main clan blood? But that technique, just now, I feel like I've seen it somewhere before. Seeing him dazed, Zeke asked, Examiner, how was my result?" The dragon instructor immediately declared, Number 315 passed. The assistant instructor brought over the prize here. Take this. Zeke asked curiously, what's this? At the same time, the assistant whispered, can you hurry up? I still have to clean up the scene. Zeke stomped his foot in annoyance. Is everyone in this era always in such a rush? Calm down a bit. Ringies ran over with admiring eyes. Zeke, that was amazing. You shattered it. Zeke grinned smugly. It was pretty easy. Remembering the prize, he asked, oh, right, Rangies. What is this? Ranges looked up. It's a recovery potion. Zeke grew more confused. Recovery potion? Ringies happily replied. The regular kind. He held it up to examine. Doesn't seem like poison? Don't tell me this is some spiritual elixir. In truth, it was cloud-piercing clarity, the potion made from extremely rare ingredients. More specifically, it contains herbs that only grow in secret realms, plus cores filled with highly pure power from divine beasts and illusionary beasts that are incredibly hard to defeat. The specific effect is that when used, not only fresh wounds, but even old scars heal instantly, and it shows massive results in boosting power reserves. However, due to the extreme difficulty in gathering materials and the incredibly complex refining process, it rarely appeared. Zeke decided to take a sip of the cloud-piercing clarity to see if it felt any different. Unexpectedly, the wound on his arm healed in an instant. He was very surprised. This really is a spiritual elixir, Ringies explained. I don't know about spiritual elixirs, but the recovery potions the Eldragon clan prepares are definitely better than the ones sold normally. Ringies hesitated and asked, surprised? Huh? Zeke answered honestly. Of course, I'm surprised wounds this serious healed instantly like that. But he felt a little disappointed. It seems like it doesn't boost power reserves the way a true spiritual elixir would. Ranges replied to me, Zeke, you're way more shocking. Zeke muttered inwardly. What are you even talking about? At the same time, he realized something. No, this really is humanity's accumulated knowledge over more than 1,000 years. Meanwhile, Ringies kept praising, you're seriously incredible, Zeke. You're insanely strong. Zeke replied casually, well, I'm aiming to become the strongest. Ringies grew even more admiring. You say stuff like that so calmly. Down on the arena, the results kept rolling. Number 373 passed. Number 395 passed. Number 405 passed. Hearing the outcomes, Zeke inwardly sighed in admiration. Then passing was expected. Next, number 414. Even though he was terrified, Ringi steeled himself. It's my turn. I'll do it. Zeke shouted encouragement loudly. Hey, why are you so nervous? It's fine. Just stay calm. Don't set your standards too high. But when he saw Ringies preparing, Zeke sighed in exasperation. What is that guy doing? Ringies took a deep breath. The instructor signaled begin. Right after Ringies closed his eyes tightly and swung his sword. The instructor reminded coldly. First attempt failed. 2 tries left. Try again. Ringies gritted his teeth. One more time. This time it'll work for sure. Ringies gripped the sword again and struck hard at the stone. The second attempt was another miserable failure. He trembled and cried out, no way. His friends burst into mocking laughter one after another. As expected, the son of a pseudo-dragon is still just a pseudo-dragon. Give up already. Taking the chance, Redden brought up the past. What did you say earlier? Redtun shouted mockingly. Didn't you claim that Ringi's guy lying there was stronger than us? The taunts grew harsher. Stop babbling nonsense. It's ridiculous. The dragon instructor asked for his opinion. One try left. Do you want to go again? Ringi shook like a leaf. Somehow Zeke had already come to his side. What are you doing? Zeke asked confusedly. Why are you using a sword? Why not a spear? Ranges didn't understand his meaning. Spear? What do you mean? Zeke explained calmly. Like I said, why use a weapon that doesn't suit you without any plan? From the stand, someone poured fuel on the fire. In your current state, no matter how hard you try, you can't scratch that stone with a sword. The other students joined in laughing. Are you stupid? His dad didn't use a spear. He taught him swordsmanship. Another group whispered among themselves. Exactly. Changing weapons won't help at all. Ignoring all that Zeke politely asked, Examiner is switching weapons during the test against the rules. The instructor replied indifferently. No issue. Zeke happily pointed it out to Ringies. You heard him, Ringi. Lucky you. So then he provoked on purpose to ignite Ringies' determination. Are you really going to leave it like this? Past images suddenly flashed through Ringi's mind. Ringi slowly stood up. No, I will. And he decided, I'll try with a spear. Speaking of the past, my father couldn't enter the dragon's lair. Even so, he was gentle and caring. He treated me so well. No matter if I was sad or happy, he always had the habit of patting my head. He was called a pseudo-dragon and mocked. Even then, my father never minded and raised me properly. He taught me the smallest things in life. taught me how to hold a sword and use it. Back to the present. In the middle of this plaza, Rengiz silently vowed to himself. The person my father raised isn't fake. Today, right here, I'll prove it. Even with that resolute will, Rengiz's mind was still chaotic with thoughts. He looked down at the spear in his hand and thought tensely. If I try again with the sword, the result will be the same. Since that's the case, I'll trust Zeke. But how do I even use a spear? At that moment, Zeke was beside him and called out, Rengiz. Then he pointed toward the rebirth stone. He encouraged Rengiz. Just thrust straight ahead and don't think about anything. Just thrust straight. Boosted by Zeke's encouragement, Rengiz felt somewhat less anxious, though he was still a little nervous. Rengiz gripped the spear tightly and muttered to himself for motivation. Thrust straight forward, his mind unconsciously recalled the usual mocking from Rhett and the others, then remembered Zeke always standing by his side. Rengiz thought inwardly. Normally, if I think thrusting straight with a spear I've never held before won't scratch the rebirth stone, but how could he say that without ever trying it once? Even though I've only just met him, this is pretty strange. But thinking this far, he finally made up his mind. He raised the spear straight toward the rebirth stone and declared firmly, I understand. I'll try. But he kept repeating to himself, since Zeke believed in me, I'll try believing in myself too. With that thought, he charged toward the rebirth stone. The spear in his hand faintly glowed with a soft light. Rengiz seemed to sense the power the spear was giving him. He felt both happy and anxious, holding a sword from the start until now. The flow inside me has never circulated this much. No more thinking, Rengiz shouted as he thrust the spear forward with all his strength into the rebirth stone. Redin and his group hadn't yet seen the result and were already laughing uproariously, mocking him. See, I told you changing weapons won't help him do jack. Slow motion as Rengiz thrust into the rebirth stone when the spear tip accelerated toward impact. He couldn't believe it. It's like it was part of my body from the very beginning. The sharp spear tip pierced at lightning speed when the spear penetrated the rebirth stone. Dust and debris exploded outward. Retin and his crew were stunned, unable to believe their eyes as they shouted. What? The assistant instructor beside the dragon instructor exclaimed in shock. My God! The dragon instructor's face remained unchanged, but he still let out an astonished remark. He didn't just scratch it, he pierced straight through. Finishing Rengiz's turn, Zeke immediately stood up, clapping in celebration. Awesome. You did great, Rengiz. Ranges was still dazed and asked blankly, what did I just do? The dragon instructor wrote the result and announced, number 414 passed. Rengiz stood stunned, still holding the spear, stammering in disbelief. I passed. Zeke slung an arm around his shoulder, smiling brightly. Yep, you did it just like I thought. After studying himself, Rengiz's eyes welled up with tears of joy as he murmured, I passed. Then he joyfully hugged Zeke tightly, shouting, I did it. I really passed. Zeke laughed. I told you so. On the stands, two guys beside Rhett and clamored in denial. It was just a fluke. Yeah, it has to be right, Rhett. At that moment, the dragon instructor announced loudly, the entrance exam has concluded. But he looked at the list of passing students in his hand and continued, the entrance ceremony will begin immediately. Hearing that, Zeke asked Rengiz curiously beside him in trance ceremony that Rengiz answered right away. There might be other tests after we start attending. Zeke asked further. So what do we do now? Rengiz didn't know how to answer, and it said vaguely, probably nothing for us to do right now. At that moment, steady footsteps rang out. A dignified group slowly stepped into the center of the plaza. Seeing them, the dragon instructor spoke. The leader of the Dragon clan will give a congratulatory speech for you all. Zeke noticed a man with an imposing aura standing silently among them. Zeke asked Rengiz curiously, who's that gloomy guy? Rengiz pawed in fear at Zeke calling him that, but answered honestly, that's the clan head. Zeke showed no restraint and bluntly commented, the clan head with that face? Can't he lighten up a bit? Ice might be warmer than him. Hearing Zeke's words, Rengiz panicked and quickly covered his mouth, half pleading, half demanding, please be quiet, please. Then he slowly removed his hand from Zeke's mouth, but was still sweating bullets, repeatedly whispering, please stay silent. Okay. Zeke nodded and didn't say anything more. His eyes turned toward the Eldragon clan leaders as he pondered inwardly. But so that's the current strength of the Dragon clan. A few at 7-star, quite a few at 6-star. Truly a formidable force. Thinking this far, he couldn't help sighing inwardly in admiration. But Zeke looked at the clan headman and pondered. In the current clan head of the Dragon clan, Baltzul Dragon, sensing the mysterious aura emanating from him, Zeke inwardly assessed. I guess he's at 8-star level. Based on what he knew, 8-star was extremely rare. Even 1,000 years ago, there weren't even 12 people in the world who reached it. I don't know how the era is now, but thinking this far, he didn't keep the thought to himself anymore and said it out loud. I don't like him. Hearing that, Rengiz immediately turned to stare at him. Zeke added under his breath while thinking it was his father. The other Dragon clan leaders stepped aside to clear a path for Baltza to the center. The dragon instructor announced loudly again a few words from Lord Baltza. Attention! Baltza walked straight to the very center. Baltza spoke. His voice carried no warmth and was curt. Strive become the flesh and blood of Elragon. His words released a strange mono wave that blew straight towards Zeke. Everyone on the stands couldn't escape and felt themselves nearly lifted off the ground. Noisy voices started whispering, "Impossible. Can't breathe." Zeke was completely unaffected, but saw Rengiz beside him, struggling to breathe with a purple face, and called worriedly, "Rengiz." He looked at the others around who were gasping for air and vaguely realized, even the other kids are being crushed by this guy's pressure. Thinking that, he frowned and muttered inwardly, "What terrifying hatred. I don't know what happened, but I really don't like him." When Baltza turned and withdrew, the plaza's atmosphere gradually returned to normal. Suddenly, applause rang out. Another man, one of the Eldragon clan leaders, laughed loudly and followed up on Baltza's speech. "Yes, truly valuable encouragement. Lord Baltza has high expectations for you all." Zeke paid attention to him and wondered inwardly, "Who's that guy?" Meanwhile, the man's booming voice continued echoing, "So, I won't bother with too many greetings. Strive hard, young ones." With that, he laughed heartily again. Zeke still wondered inwardly, "Who is he?" Stepping back, the man chatted casually with the dragon instructor. The instructor teased, "Seriously, you said it like it's true." The man joked back, "People who worry about little things go bald anyway forget his status." Zeke just sighed inwardly at this point. "I don't understand what's going on, but thankfully the atmosphere has changed." After that pressure wave, the students on the stands fell deathly silent. No one dared speak. No one even breathed loudly. Zeke didn't care about any of this nonsense, and just sat idly looking down at the plaza below. Now the dragon instructor held a list in hand and announced loudly, "We will now announce dormitory assignments. Those whose names are called proceed immediately." Hearing that, Zeke asked Rengiz curiously, "Aren't we all going to the same place?" Rengiz explained based on what he knew. "No, actually there are 4 dragon's layers. New students are assigned to halls corresponding to east, west, south, and north." Zeke nodded. "Got it." At that moment, the dragon instructor read number 315. Zeke stood up smiling and bid Rengiz farewell. "My turn. Take care, Rengiz." Rengiz sincerely wished him. "Yeah, you too, Zeke." At the Eastern Dragon's Lair, rows of dignified classical buildings with spacious, shaded gardens. Right now, Zeke held a note in hand, scratching his head in frustration. After 1,000 years, so much has changed. Turn here. Finally, after struggling to find the way, he reached his dormitory room. He sighed in relief. Here it is. You got lost and ended up late. My roommate's probably already here. With that, Zeke turned the doorknob. Opening the door, he cheerfully waved hello to the person inside, saying, "Sorry for making you wait. Starting today, we're roommates." Vaguely looking at the person before him, he paused slightly, asked suspiciously, "You're?" Zeke grinned wide and exclaimed, "Looks like we're pretty fated to meet, huh?" "Rengiz." The blue-haired boy smiled back and replied, "Yeah, really. I was worried I'd end up alone. This is great." After that, Zeke flopped down onto the bed. "Nothing else to do today, right?" Rengiz stepped over beside him and answered, "That's right. The training sessions start tomorrow." Zeke immediately pouted and muttered, "Oh yeah." Seeing his reaction, Rengiz couldn't help asking, "Were you even listening?" The instructor said that clearly. Zeke grinned brightly and gave thumbs up. "I didn't hear a single word." Rengiz instantly yelled, "That's not something to brag about." Then he spoke sternly again. "Anyway, we should sleep early. Training starts tomorrow." Under the soft sunset light streaming through the window, Zeke just sat quietly and thought without saying anything more. He suddenly recalled everything he'd been through and pondered inwardly. "I was planning to escape this boring place and go adventuring, but that rebirth stone and that potion, too many interesting things happened during the entrance exam." Zeke unconsciously looked toward the window and thought to himself, to understand what changed after 1,000 years, staying with the Eldragon clan a bit longer isn't so bad. Time flew by. 1 month later at the Eldragon clan stronghold. On the training ground right now, a group of trembling kids were lifting weights with both hands while someone kept shouting loudly, "Listen up. The dragon breath I taught you is an excellent breathing technique created by the 15th clan head of the Dragon family." The dragon instructor stood tall and continued in a booming voice, "You must master this ultimate technique in every situation." As soon as he finished, he turned his head and looked thoughtfully in a certain direction. Leah before him was currently eyes closed using the technique perfectly, making him ponder. Many have already mastered Dragon Breath, especially since the young lady's primal energy is starting to overflow, showing she's close to reaching 2-star. But the dragon instructor cast a doubtful gaze in another direction. And that kid Zeke sat on the other side, casually lifting weights while carrying 3 more large and small boulders on his back. What the hell is this? Truly, he has the clan head's blood in him too, but he has no instructor or proper lessons. The dragon instructor stood behind him, silently observing, but still couldn't hide his astonishment. What kind of scene is this? Meanwhile, Zeke calmly breathed in and out while thinking inwardly. I never imagined the Dragon King breathing technique I created would be improved and spread widely under the name Dragon Breath. He sat cross-legged with a slightly bored expression, his body enveloped in a faint golden aura. The breathing technique is a skill to absorb energy from the air into the body and circulate it, thereby self-upgrading power reserves. What determines its effectiveness is mainly the user's skill and finesse. That's why prestigious clans create their own methods, and complete ultimate techniques are kept as supreme secrets. Zeke closed his eyes and thought inwardly. Dragon Breath is quite safe and easy to learn, but if the purpose is only for calming the mind, then I don't need it. The mature silhouette from his previous life suddenly appeared in his mind. The Dragon King breathing secret passed down by Giles Ragan is the only breathing technique that allows controlling energy without interrupting breath, even while moving. Its effect is enormous, but very few can inherit it due to the extreme difficulty. Zeke's had a transmission process for this breathing technique suddenly appeared. He immediately guessed, so they deliberately simplified it so anyone could use it, thereby raising the overall strength of the entire clan. I never thought my technique would be passed down to future generations in such an altered form. How touching. I wonder if other martial arts after 1,000 years have been changed like this too. Really looking forward to it. In a corner, Zeke couldn't see. Leah was secretly watching him. Not long after, the kids who had just finished training started their meal in the dining hall. Amid the lively atmosphere, suddenly 2 kids with terrified expressions stared intently at the arm, reaching out for a food plate. Zeke happily opened his mouth wide to chomp down on the piece he just grabbed. Crumbs still stuck around his lips. While chewing, Zeke asked caringly, "What's wrong? You look deep in thought, Rangies. If you don't eat, you won't get stronger, you know." Rangies helplessly asked back, "How are you so full of energy? Your stamina is really strange." Zeke casually mocked, "It's because you're too weak." Zeke smiled wryly and pushed the plate of buns forward. "Eat more and train harder here. No choice. Take this." The blue-haired boy groaned miserably. "I already have my own portion." Right after that, Zeke suddenly glanced behind him. Anyway, there are a few who are really well trained. At the same time, Leica suddenly approached him and spoke. "Hey, you're pretty good, right? Who are you?" Thinking that inwardly, Zeke still responded instinctively. "Who are you?" Ranges beside him spat out the water he just drunk. "Huh." He immediately pulled Zeke close and whispered urgently, "Zeke, you don't know. This is Lady Leica, daughter of the clan head." Zeke replied indifferently. "Don't know." Ringy shouted in panic. "Impossible. She's one of the candidates for the next clan head position. Normally, we don't even have the right to talk to her." Being pressed so close, Zeke blurted out, "If that's the case, then I'm the clan head son too, even if illegitimate." Ringies froze in shock in an instant while Leica opposite suddenly exclaimed, "Really?" She asked calmly with a composed face, "You're the illegitimate son of the clan head, successor candidate, Leica Typhona, Elragon." Zeke propped his hand up and answered immediately, "Why would I lie about something like that? Le questioned. Then how are you strong enough to crush the rebirth stone barehanded?" She slammed her hand on the table. "An illegitimate child with no backing. How could you do that?" Zeke turned back to continue cutting his meat before replying slowly, "Well, because it's me, Ringies, stop spacing out. Eat." Zeke's answer made Leah fall silent for a moment. Right after she suddenly grinned and said, "You're really interesting." Leah casually sat down beside him and proposed, "So, how about becoming my subordinate?" Zeke gave her a dead fish look. "Huh? What did you say?" Leica repeated the offer while laying out benefits. "I'm asking if you want to become someone under me. I'll be your backing. You want allies too, right?" In her mind, right? Then, a scene of the 2 of them standing side by side in the future appeared. Leica leaned one hand on the table, smiling as she painted the future. "Then, use your strength to help me become clan head. Of course, I'll treat you well after I become clan head. How about it?" Zeke closed his eyes and refused instantly. "No thanks." Leah suddenly lowered her voice, making him look over. "Why? Don't tell me." She coldly released a strong aura of anger. You also intend to fight for the clan head position. Zeke sensed that aura and only thought, she's at the threshold of 2-star, able to emit primal energy outside the body at this age. Interesting. But he answered indifferently, do whatever you want. I have no interest in becoming clan head or anything like that. No interest in clan matters. Leah was shocked and slammed the table standing up. What? Then what's left before she finished a blur suddenly flashed past her face. Zeke's face darkened as he slammed the knife in his hand down into the table. The knife's position was only a few centimeters from Leica's fingers. Zeke widened his eyes, glowing golden, and said, I don't serve anyone because I am the strongest. Under that gaze, Leica's whole body stiffened like she'd been shocked. What? She paused and thought inwardly. I'm at a disadvantage. At that moment, Rengi's trembled as he stood up to mediate. Calm down. But Leica suddenly shouted angrily, then I'll force you to submit. Fight me. Zeke chewed, while looking over blankly as Rengi's beside him froze in terror. A while later, a kid walking by turned his head and asked, Where are you guys going? To the training ground. There's a spar between new students. And it's Lady Leah? The kid exclaimed in shock. Lady Leah from the Typhona branch with who? Why? Who knows? At that moment on the training ground, other new students who'd come to watch hid behind walls whispering, they say it's a spar. Who's that guy? Zeke rubbed his head and muttered, This is getting tense. Rengi's asked worriedly. Are you okay? Your opponent is Lady Leah. Zeke replied nonchalantly. Even if you say that I still don't know who she is, and why did you suddenly switch to formal speech? The blue-haired boy widened his eyes and shouted, Of course, sir. You're the clan head's son. Zeke just smiled lightly. Do whatever you want. More importantly, Rengi's clung to his arm and spilled everything in a rush. Please think carefully. Leah is the daughter of the current clan head Balsa, and she carries the bloodline of the Typhona branch, one of the 4 pillar families of the Eldragon clan. She's a genius who mastered all variations of the Great Thunder Sword, the Typhona family's legacy from age 7, just like the other extremely talented children of Lord Za. As soon as he finished, Zeke raised his hand blankly. Sorry, I only understood that she's the clan head's daughter. Rain just shouted in panic. Why? Zeke explained. Everything's new to me. The blue-haired boy clutched his head miserably. How can this be? Don't ask. But Zeke suddenly spoke comfortingly. But not knowing makes it even more interesting, doesn't it? He grinned wide and exclaimed. Extremely interesting. Even seeing Zeke's reaction, Rengi's was still worried. Even if you're strong, facing Lady Leah is still too disadvantageous. Why did you accept the challenge? Zeke rubbed his chin. Well, when someone challenges me, I don't back down. Right after saying that, Zeke turned his head toward the opposite side. Besides, she seems to have arrived. Leah planted her sword in the ground, face full of anger and aura blazing as she declared, The chit-chat ends here. Leah leaned on her sword planted in the ground and shouted, Done talking. Rengi's trembled in fear. Zeke beside him smiled. Ready, everything's set. Rengi's panicked while backing away, shouted, Just please be careful. Zeke stayed put and asked Leica calmly, Careful? That depends on you. Why are you so determined to challenge me? She answered confidently, I want to become clan head. To do that, I must make you submit and join me. Zeke asked in boredom. What do you mean? He thought inwardly. What does this have to do with me? Leica darkened her face. Wait, you don't know anything about the current clan situation? Is it because you're illegitimate? Zeke hesitated. Well, I might know something if you ask directly. Leah immediately explained. Listen, there are 5 candidates for the next clan head position, including you and me. Everyone except you is already allied with one of the 4 branches of the Dragon clan. She thought of each person's strength and background, then continued, which branch produces the next clan head is extremely important. That's why all of us are here at the Dragon's Lair to represent our branch and compete. I need more power to face my siblings. Zeke frowned, thinking. So there's currently a confrontation between the 4 branches. Complicated stuff. I don't think I fully get it. Then he said, Got it. After that, Leica drew her sword and said, Therefore, as a candidate for the next clan head, I need to strengthen my resources even more. She declared, That's the reason. Leah leaped up. Zeke raised his head wearily. Leah raised her sword and charged toward him, shouting, Right here, I'll defeat you. Leah slashed straight down, but Zeke swiftly dodged to the side. He tilted his head again to dodge one of Leica's slashing strikes. She roared in fury, I won't let you get away with this. One shocked trainee shouted out loud how fast that was, while the guy next to him commented that she was handling that massive great sword so effortlessly. Leah kept charging after Zeke relentlessly. The watching trainees buzzed with excited chatter about how precise her control over her power source was and how her attacks were getting faster and faster. Turns out this is the strength of someone who inherited a branch of the family. The kids from the main clan are just a matter of time before this fight reaches its decisive moment. Leah gritted her teeth. Wondering why the hell is this happening, she swung her sword again, but Zeke dodged it, then swiftly appeared behind her back, grinning teasingly before saying cheerfully, "I can't even land a single hit on you." Ringy's eyes widened in awe, as he exclaimed, "That's incredible." On the arena floor, Zeke muttered while observing her, "This kind of martial technique I've never seen before, and at this speed, it's definitely not something you'd expect from a one-star level fighter." Leah yelled angrily, "Shut your mouth and focus on the fight already." Zeke clenched his fist and replied, "I am focused." That's exactly why. Leica froze, stunned, staring at him in confusion. Zeke had already driven a straight punch right into her stomach, and he said coldly, "I can counterattack just like this." Leah quit, painfully clutching her gut. She planted her sword into the ground and bent over, holding her stomach. The trainee outside erupted in disbelief. "No way. Every single one of Miss Leica's attacks missed. Who the hell is that guy?" Leah lifted her head, gritting her teeth, demanding, "Why can't any of my attacks hit you against a one-star like you? I should be overwhelmingly faster. I should be way quicker than you," Zeke smiled, and answered, You're definitely a lot faster than any one-star I've ever faced." He gave her a sidelong glance. "But you're still just a one-star, that's all." Les snapped furiously. "Aren't you a one-star too? How can you even keep up with my movements?" Zeke gave a faint smirk. "It's simple, really." He studied her body and said, "Breathing on movements, muscle tension buildup." Zeke explained, "Just by watching those things, you can read most of her movements, and the rest comes down to experience." At that moment, Leica forced herself back to her feet. She swung her sword at him and shouted, "That's ridiculous." He leaned back to dodge her strike and said, "I told you so." Then he planted his hands on the ground, arched his body, and kicked out at Leica with his legs. She gritted her teeth in rage as Zeke clenched his fist, aiming at her again, saying, "I can read it all." Leica got blasted back by Zeke's punch, slamming hard into the wall. Zeke frowned, staying silent. One trainee yelled out, "Miss Leica," while the crowd around gasped in shock. No way, she actually lost. Miss Leica lost. Rangers rushed forward, shouting, "Lord Zeke, that's amazing. You actually defeated Miss Leica." But Zeke replied coldly, "No, not quite yet." As the dust slowly cleared, Leica stomped her foot down hard. Zeke smiled and commented, "She concentrated all her power source in her core to block my hit. She's no pushover." Leah clutched her stomach, breathing heavily in pain. Ringy panicked and urged Miss Leica, "That's enough already." But Zeke cut in Ringy's step back. "I won't be responsible if you get caught in the crossfire." A faint aura began radiating around Leah, and Zeke said she was already showing signs earlier, but has she really reached 2-star level now? Leah wiped the blood from her face with her hand and slowly walked back onto the arena floor. The surrounding trainees shouted in astonishment, "Hey, isn't that? Yeah, no mistake, that's the mark of 2-star level, a white halo." Zeke thought to himself, 2-star, the state where you can project your power source outside the body to use martial techniques. The projected energy is called an aura. Leica fixed her hair and said, "Thanks to you, I broke through to 2-star and now." She furrowed her brows tightly, glaring at Zeke, then swung her sword, shouting, "You don't stand a chance of winning anymore." Zeke dodged her attack and laughed out loud. "Damn, you're fast." Leica swung another slash at him, and Zeke pretended to be impressed. "Whoa, that was unexpected." Suddenly, a small cut appeared on his cheek. Zeke thought to himself in shock, "What the hell was that?" He touched the wound thoughtfully. "I swear I dodged it." Leica stepped closer and said, "See that?" A pale white energy flowed from Leica's entire body as she advanced, saying, "This is my ability." Leah raised her sword to her chest and continued, "Now, I've got the 2-star aura." Golden lightning bolts crackled all around her, as Leica declared, "I'll show you the real thunder sword technique." Zeke stood still, muttering, "So, I'm finally going to witness a martial technique I've never seen before." He burst out laughing. "This is going to be awesome." In that instant, a flash of light erupted. Thunder. Gritzwald technique. Thunder radiance. Electricity surged nonstop across Zeke's whole body. "Wait, what is this?" He grinned and asked, "So you're controlling lightning, huh? That's way too overpowered." Leah raised her sword high, shouting at the guy who dares say something like that. She slammed the blade straight into the ground. Lightning bolts shot up instantly. Zeke leaped high. "You look like you're actually enjoying this thundernet." He smiled, looking at Leica. "It's completely different from before. These lightning bolts are tough, even for me right now." Up above, the spectators exclaimed, "What kind of fight is this? Just one level difference, and everything changes that much." Ringy's watched below with a face full of fear and worry Lord Zeke. Meanwhile, Zeke kept analyzing his opponent's weapon and calculating right now her actual movements are still pretty straightforward. Nothing's changed too drastically. But he stared straight into her sharp eyes. The moment she reached 2-star and gained the aura, the power of her Thunder Great's sword exploded violently. I thought she was just faster than before. But now she's even quicker, and those lightning strikes are so mysterious. Zeke smiled, charging forward, being able to envelop someone in thunder like this. I could counter right now, but he hesitated, inwardly watching Laika's sword paths. I'm really curious what this power truly is. On her side, Laika smirked triumphantly. You can still smile in a situation like this. You look way too relaxed if that's the case. Leah swiftly slashed at him. I'll wipe that smile right off your face. Then her foot shot forward instantly. Leah unleashed Thunder Radiant's ship. He dodged to the side, evaluating this move. It's like a lightning pillar. Huh? Far away, an explosion erupted, sending dirt and rocks flying everywhere. Ringy saw it and immediately leaped down the wall and panicked Lord Zeke. While people behind shouted, "Hey, wait." But Zeke was still standing tall, wearing that same smile. To Laika, it felt like provocation, so she immediately followed up with Thunder Radiance. Zeke took the hit and dropped to one knee to brace himself. On the other side, Ranges rushed over, shouting, "Miss Laika, please stop if you keep going." Why? Her voice turned mocking. Isn't he still holding up just fine? Lightning crackled over Laika's entire body. You don't think stopping now would be an insult to him, do you? He turned anxiously to Zeke, pleading, "Lord Zeke, please just surrender." Meanwhile, she reminded him, "Honestly, I think he's right. You're in pretty bad shape. Here's the deal. If you surrender and submit to me right now, I'll stop here." Zeke bowed his head, smiling silently without answering. Seeing that, Laika said cheerfully, "So, even as an illegitimate child, you're still a proud Ragan." "Huh, I get it. Fine. Then I'll finish you off with everything I've got." She raised her sword high. Powerful lightning surged toward it. Great sword technique. Secret art number 1, Heavenly Thunder. The lightning struck Zeke's body, forming a pillar of blinding light. He was instantly electrocuted until his vision went white. Crackling thunder sounds filled the air. Ringis rushed forward in terror, screaming, "Lord Zeke." Then Zeke collapsed motionless on the ground, completely still. Laika brutally stabbed her sword into the ground. She turned away, no longer caring. What a shame, but the fight ends here. Right at that moment, a voice rang out. I figured it out. And from behind Laika, a pillar of light erupted. She spun around in shock. How was that possible? How do you have a lightning aura? Zeke stood back up, still smiling, letting out an "oh." So this is what they call a lightning aura. He answered cheerfully when you asked how. Zeke crossed his arms, looking dead serious. I have no idea either. Leek stood there stunned, speechless. He continued happily. I deliberately took all your attacks to study this power, but somehow I can use it too. She repeated in disbelief. You can use it? That doesn't mean Zeke thought to himself joyfully while enduring those mysterious lightning strikes. I kept using the breathing technique, Dragon King's breath. He recalled how Laika's whole body radiated lightning, and then what happened? Dragon King's breath reacted to her lightning aura. Lightning began appearing on Zeke's hands, and electricity started accumulating inside his body. He smiled, wiping the dirt from his face before I even realized it. I could already manipulate that lightning. I don't know the exact principle, but I must have some kind of special physique. No, wait. Zeke looked straight at Laika and continued. If we consider that greatsword technique as your family's inherited martial art, should I assume your entire clan has some special physique? With that, he quickly moved toward her, hypothesizing that the power source itself is based on lightning properties. Yeah, this has been one hell of a training session. Zeke raised his hand, lightning bolts crackling into existence, and more than that. He smiled, clenching his fist as powerful electricity surged across his whole body. Thanks to you, I've also reached 2-star level. The fight's far from Zeke's eyes quickly flicked toward one direction. Right? Then Laika suddenly swung her sword straight at him. Zeke smiled, tilting his head up and continued saying over yet. Then lightning flashed unexpectedly. He burst forward at incredible speed. After using his new ability, Zeke couldn't help exclaiming this is. He silently analyzed the flow of this power in his mind right now. With the power source increased, it affects every nerve and reinforces the body. What an astonishing special physique. All my senses are heightened. So Zeke quietly told himself, I need to get used to it a bit. On the other side, Ringi still hadn't snapped out of it. A battle between clan heir candidates, just watching. I can barely keep up. Am I imagining all this? By now, the two of them had charged at each other. Zeke easily evaded her attacks. The guy was stunned, inwardly thinking Miss Laika's lightning like slashes can't hit him anymore. Laika lost her cool, yelling furiously, "Are you mocking me?" He smiled casually. "No, I'm not teasing you at all." Then Zeke rushed in fast, delivering a direct strike toward her sword. "I really do see you as a formidable opponent." Laika sensed the overwhelming force and immediately gripped her sword, stepping back. He rolled his wrists, warming up his body while grinning. "The right distance is about here, huh? Time to wrap this fight up. It's been going on long enough. Maybe I should create a new move." Over there, she was still stunned, asking, "A new move?" Zeke answered, "Yeah, the first form, no better call it secret art." At that, Lika's expression crumbled in panic inside a move. So he really has been trained in some secret inherited martial art from which branch, creating a technique so casually like that I just can't understand him at all. Suddenly he appeared right in front of her, smiling distracted huff. Laika jolted, shouting, "Oh no," before she could dodge Zeke's palm, slammed straight into her chest. Dragon Remnant Destruction se créa. He poured all his strength into the attack Extreme Thunderclaw. She got zapped hard at her knees, buckling to the ground. A voice rang out in front of Ringi's stunned face. "The match is over." Zeke smiled, looking down at Leah. That was seriously one hell of a fun fight. She struggled to stand still in disbelief. "No way I lost." Lee's teeth ground together in frustration. "I have to become clan head." She looked up at the sky with a sad expression. "I have to defeat my brothers." In front of Laika's eyes were visions of her older brothers still looking down on her. "I have to become clan head. I absolutely cannot lose." Right then, Zeke spoke up. "That's amazing. You're truly very strong, Laika." Startled at his words, he bent down, adding, "I've learned some really interesting new things. This has been an incredibly meaningful time." Zeke extended his hand right in front of her, smiling cheerfully. "It would be so boring if this was our only sparring session. Let's train together again, okay, Leah?" Lee's face flushed a little touched as she looked up. Zeke reached his hand toward Laika, grinning. "I can't wait for the next one." She took his hand, then smiled back. "How could I possibly compare to you? I lost." A few hours later, inside the rift, a swarm of monsters appeared. A man was surrounded by the horde of creatures. Belta calmly watched them charging toward him. He furrowed his brows. Belt's eyes flashed instantly. Overwhelming killing intent erupted behind him. The shadowy form of a roaring dragon appeared. Baltsa muttered, "Dragon might." He drew his sword and charged at the monsters. Baltsa swung a wide arc slash, thinking to himself, "Dragon Aura Annihilation Martial Art First Form Origin." Sword energies scattered, wiping out sways of monsters. Then Baltsa sheathed his blade. The soldiers behind him immediately rushed in to finish the rest. The rift gate slowly opened. Baltsa walked leisurely toward it. One soldier bowed, reporting, "Lord Baltsa, I have something to report." Baltsa asked, "What is it?" The soldier said, "Miss Laika has reached 2-star. Sir Baltsa stopped in his track. He glanced at the soldier gruffly. So the soldier nervously continued. "Reaching 2-star at her age is already a remarkable achievement with Miss Laika's talent. By the time she graduates from the dragon lair, she could reach 4. No, she might even hit 5-star. Baltsa declared coldly. "Talent doesn't matter. Report to me when the girl becomes useful. If you came here just to tell me something this trivial, then get lost." The soldier paused for a second, but Miss Laika has been defeated. Belza asked in surprise. The girl challenged one of the older ones. The soldier answered, "No, sir. The one who defeated Miss Laika is a kid the same age Zeke, sir." Belza muttered, surprised. "Zeke, that woman's child." He hesitated. "Yeah, that woman had freakish martial talent." But Baltsa eyed the soldier, questioning. "Still, she died, giving birth to that boy, right, who taught him the skills to beat a 2-star. The soldier, recalling Zeke, answered about that. "Zeke defeated Miss Laika without anyone teaching him, and he reached 2-star level all on his own." Balta ordered, "I see, then let's start the first phase of training." The soldier asked, shocked, "I don't mean anything by it, but isn't it too soon? And they've only had formal combat training for about a month, and most of the kids haven't even reached 1-star yet," Baltsa said coldly. "So, well, whether they train in combat or not, death treats everyone equally. Only the strong survive. Those who can't even pass the first trial, no matter how many stars they have," he declared, "don't deserve to be an L-Dragon." The soldier bowed. "As you wish, sir." Then Baltsa suddenly added, "Report this to Freya." The soldier, confused. "Freya, sir?" Baltsa replied. "Yes, the fact that the boy beat Leah on his own is quite interesting." As he walked into the rift, he continued, "Freya will be assigned to oversee the content and the entire process, have her monitor the challenge closely from start to finish." The soldier snapped, understood. Baltsa smirked, muttering, "Inji ka, interesting indeed." The next day at the training grounds, the trainees were going all out, practicing like crazy. Ringies was also pushing hard to improve himself. Over on Zeke's side, he was hauling boulders and weights onto his body, thinking Dragon Seal combat method. Today's plan, double the weights, 1 big rock, 2 medium rocks, horse stance. Zeke recalled, like Dragon Breath, this technique was created by the 15 clan head, though it's called a combat method. It's basically a body reinforcement technique designed to be easy enough for even kids to master fully. Ringies walked over, puzzled. Lord Zeke, aren't you going to train? He immediately replied, what are you talking about? I am training. The guy hesitated. No, not physical training. I mean training in the Dragon Seal combat method. Zeke calmly answered, I've already learned it. The guy shouted in shock, what, you just learned it earlier, and you've already mastered it. He closed his eyes, saying, of course, more importantly, Ringies, your power flow is going the wrong direction. Ringies froze, huh? Zeke dropped the rock in weight, saying here. He raised his hand, pointing at the guy's body, looked turned around Ringies dazed, wondering, did I just float? He mumbled, yes. A surge of energy suddenly glowed. Zeke placed his hand on Ringies' shoulder, channeling power into his body. When done, he said, this is the correct flow, Ringies said in awe. Thank you so much, sir. Ringies looked at him seriously. You've truly mastered it as expected from Lord Zeke. Zeke yelled, you doubting me? What kind of person are you? Ringies flustered, no, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. This is the first time anyone's taught me besides my father, so I always feel desperate. He recalled Zeke's clash with Leah and continued, but you, Lord Zeke, already have martial technique strong enough to beat Miss Leica, so I figured the Dragon Seal combat method might seem simple and boring to you. Zeke crossed his arms. That's not true at all. I'm completely impressed by how stable the Dragon Seal combat method is. He thought inwardly. After all, my technique, Dragon Rim and Destruction, isn't suited for my son. They say it's too complex and difficult. Zeke pondered Dragon Rim and Destruction combat method complex and grueling, but superior in overwhelming power like a constitution, starting with the first form, then second, third, fourth. He pictured an ancient tree and a silver dragon. Zeke recalled plus the secret art born from the fight with Leah, and there's still the final form, the one with devastating power from defeating the divine dragon. I'm curious about the other dragon techniques. Too, maybe those have been modified as well, Zeke thought. Happily, this is exciting, then he smiled anyway. I finished learning the Dragon Seal combat method, so I'm just doing regular body training. Everyone progresses at their own pace, Ringies replied. I get it. Suddenly, Ringies shouted Lord Zeke. He suggested, please train me. I want you to guide me like just now. Zeke's eyes widened, continuing. I know it's an embarrassing request, but Ringies yelled, I want to get stronger, even just a little. Zeke laughed. I don't mind at all. The guy asked, dazed. Really? Is that okay? Zeke replied, what's with that reaction? You're the one who asked. He continued, I'm not lying. Besides, you deserve it. Right then, Leo walked over shyly, saying, in that case, I want you to train me too. Ringies muttered in shock. Even Miss Leah, Ringies asked, seriously, is there a problem with that? Leah explained, honestly, I thought no one my age could beat me because I'm a candidate for the next clan head. But in yesterday's fight, you completely overwhelmed me and somehow deployed a lightning aura and used it better than I did. She shouted, embarrassed, my pride has been totally shattered by Yuzek's side. My fault. Haran just beside him gave an awkward laugh. Well yet. Leah looked at him determined. But I want to get even stronger. Strong enough to defeat my brothers and even you. So please train me too. She asked, is that okay? Zeke stayed silent, thinking it over. Leica looked a bit disappointed. No good. Huh. I understand since you're also a potential heir, training with a rival probably isn't okay. Zeke stood quietly pondering without answering. She silently accepted, thinking, yeah, he's also a candidate for heir. Even if illegitimate, he's still the clan head son. After thinking for a while, he finally spoke. I don't mind, but is your body really okay? That injury should have left you unable to move for a month. Leah nodded, recounting, I used recovery medicine, so no problem. You worry about the weirdest things. Hearing that, Zeke leaned close to Ringies' ear, whispering, I get it. That weird medicine worked like a miracle potion. He whispered back, if you mean the one from the entrance exam, it wasn't that effective. Ranges pointed at her, affirming with Miss Leica's personality. She must have used a better one this time. Zeke couldn't help exclaiming, what an amazing era. Leica's face flushed. What do you mean, without the recovery medicine? I really would have been immobile for a month. But more importantly, so you're really going to train me? You need time to train yourself too. Zeke shrugged, grinning, of course. I'd never turn down an ambitious young person. She stared blankly, a question mark popping up in her head. Young person, you're young too. Aren't you even, Ringies doubted? We're the same age. He whistled casually. Yeah, that's true. To make sure, Zeke asked again, are you sure, Leah? I was the one who beat you. Remember, she said, determined. No problem. I can't afford to be picky. Leah clenched her fists, eyes full of resolve. Getting stronger means becoming clan head. I'll do whatever it takes. Zeke couldn't help wondering earlier when you challenged me. You mentioned the clan head position, too. Why are you so obsessed with becoming clan head? She hesitated a bit. Oh, that's obvious. Leah slowly explained. If I don't become clan head, marriage is the only future left for me. A political marriage. If lucky, I'll end up as the wife of some annoying cousin. Otherwise, I'll be forced to become someone's concubine. Hearing that his face darkened what? She shrugged casually like it was obvious. Yeah, maintaining the Ragan bloodline, is that important? Especially for the 4 great clans. Don't you know our true essence energy is unique meaning? It can be used in countless ways. Zeke suddenly flared up with anger. Just run away. Those bastards make me sick. Just thinking about it. Ranges beside him shivered. He clenched his fists, ranting. What do they think people are back in the summer when they do like that? Those damn outdated customs. I'll destroy them all. In the middle of his rant, the instructor's stern voice rang out focus. Laika, confused. What just happened? Zeke grumbled. Perfect timing right when things get important. Ranges looked like he was about to cry. That scared me half to death. The 3 of them turned toward where the instructor had just called for assembly. He announced loudly. Starting today, a new instructor will join us despite a busy schedule. She personally came to guide all of you. Be grateful it's her. While everyone was focused listening, a girl with brilliant red hair suddenly stepped up beside Leah. She reached out, gently stroking a strand of Laika's hair, then asked, Aren't you Miss Leah? Leah, startled, turned to look. The moment their eyes met, she instinctively stepped back. Ranges jumped, hugging Zeke tightly. The red-haired girl feigned surprise. Oh my. She winked, praising amazing reflexes, and your spiritual energy isn't bad either. Zeke, still being hugged tightly by Rengi's, thought to himself. I didn't sense her presence at all. He trembled, asking who the hell is this person? The dragon instructor reached out to introduce this before he finished. The person beside him cut in, still as lively as ever. Huh, Misfa. She waved cheerfully. Hi, nice to meet everyone. Frau Glenstadt Zeke Probing. And you must be Zeke. He answered without hesitation. Yeah. She was surprised. You don't seem surprised. He replied calmly, because miss, there's nothing surprising, but for some reason for his brows furrowed, Zeke smirked, his pupils gleaming. It seems this miss is quite an interesting martial artist, Frager thought, intrigued. So that's why the clan had paid attention to him. On the other side, Zeke rubbed his chin, impressed. Her stealth technique is really impressive, but